Hey, race fans, Shane Carlson here with you from Full Throttle Weekly. We are just days away from the Daytona 500 and the official start of the 2015 NASCAR season. I'm excited. All the other NASCAR fans are excited about this weekend, about getting the season finally started. I know a lot of places are cold and snowy still, so it'll be nice to finally get to see and hear the cars on the track this weekend with the start of the new season. And being in Daytona is always a special time of the year. Um, Teams and owners and everybody looks forward to this weekend, has it circled on their calendar as a race they'd want to win. Going to Daytona, as all three of the National Touring Series, the trucks, the Xfinity series, and as well as the Sprint Cup series, are all down there this weekend competing. So, you know, drivers and teams really want to win this race. They've put months of preparation into this, into going into this race and making the field and going out there and competing this weekend. So, with that, I'll kind of give a Speed Weeks recap of where we are right now heading into the weekend, as well as a kind of a season overview, season preview, what I kind of think might happen down the road here. Yeah, let's get started with Speed Weeks where we're at. Last Saturday, the Sprint Cup, there was 25 drivers in the Sprint Unlimited on Saturday night, so that was like an exhibition race. Matt Kenseth won pretty handily. Had a lot of horsepower under his the hood of his number 20 Toyota, as well as the other Joe Gibbs Racing teammates all seemed pretty stout. So I think they're going to be good this weekend. I can't count them out. And so Matt Kenseth returned to victory lane after going winless last season. And granted, it was an exhibition race of sorts. There was no points on the line last week, but still, there's not really a better way to start out the season than going out and getting a win right away, building that confidence, especially going into the Daytona 500 this weekend. If there's a trophy out there to be won, those guys are going to go out and try and win it. And then with qualifying on Sunday last weekend, we saw Jeff Gordon and Jimmie Johnson claim the top two positions. So they locked themselves into the Daytona 500 field by way of fast time in qualifying in a new format. Last weekend, Jeff Gordon posted the quickest time, followed by Jimmie Johnson. So Jeff Gordon will be starting on the pole, Jimmie Johnson following in second. Hendrick Motorsports looking really good so far. And tonight in the duels, we saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. win the first duel, and another Hendrick Motorsports car, Jimmie Johnson, win the second duel. So really the two teams that are standing out to me this early in the season are the Joe Gibbs Racing stable of Toyotas and Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets. So you're going to have to keep your eyes on both of those teams this weekend. Joe Gibbs adding Carl Edwards to the fold this year. He comes over from Roush Fenway Racing, formerly in the number 99 Ford. He will now be piloting the number 19 Aris Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. No changes over on Hendrick Motorsports side except for some crew changes, notably Greg Ives taking over the crew chief role of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 88 team. But no driver changes. Those guys are going to be tough. They've shown that so far in Speed Weeks. What I've kind of noticed with Speed Week so far is that there's kind of one or two cars get out front, and they're single file, but then beyond that, it's 2 and 3 wide through the rest of the field. And I've noticed that this might be due to lowering the spoiler 2 inches in the off season from 2014 to 2015. We're going to have 2 inches spoiler, or 2 inches have been taken off the spoiler height. So less downforce on the cars, making them a little bit lighter in the back, a little bit looser. I think it's created some interesting things that I've noted. I think from just what I've seen, it seems like it's easier to go out and make a pass by yourself without any help from behind. You'll see that going for the lead. Guys in line, second, third in line behind the leader, will kind of jump out of line and make a move for the lead, and they've been able to get there with horsepower to spare. And speaking of horsepower, they reduced the amount of horsepower that the Sprint Cup cars will put out. So last year they were making 800 to about 900 horsepower, depending on how the teams tuned them up for that particular weekend. But now they're around 725, 750. So what NASCAR was hoping to do with that is create more passing opportunities, create closer racing, and I think from what I've seen so far, I think it seems to be working well. And they're still going the same speed. They're still going 200 down the front stretch, 200 plus down the front stretch at places like Daytona, Talladega, places where they run their restrictor plates. So you're really not gonna notice a huge difference in that regard. I know some people were worried about them only making it up to 190, but that seems not to be the case. They seem to be doing just fine. So duel number 1 tonight in the Budweiser duels, Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins, followed by his Hendrick Motorsports teammate Jimmy Johnson. He won the second duel, so Hendrick Motorsports looking good already. And Kyle Busch will start 4th Sunday. So, as I mentioned before, Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing seem to be the cream of the field so far. I'm really interested to see how Roush Fenway Racing responds this year. They had a pretty down year last year. Carl Edwards left, so he's no longer there, but in steps 2011 Daytona 500 champion Trevor Bayne in the 6 car. So it'll be interesting to see his adjustment to now a full-time ride. He comes over from the 21 Wood Brothers Ford. It'll be good to see. I want to see improvements with all 3 of those guys. Trevor Bayne, Greg Biffle is now the leader over there, as well as Ricky Stenhouse has been there for a few years. So it's time that those guys step up and challenge the Team Penske Fords of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. So Penske far outraced them last year. They were far and away better than the Roush Fenway Fords. So looking for improvements there from Roush Fenway. And those guys, they just got to step up and win. Greg Biffle went winless last year. Now he's the oldest. He's the veteran over there. So he's gonna be looking for wins. He's gotta step his foot out and assert himself as the leader of that team, and hopefully it pays off for them. That would be good to see. So with that, kind of a season preview, a lot of stuff going on. As I mentioned before, NASCAR lowered the spoiler height 2 inches, creating less downforce, less drag on the car. So car is going to be a little bit looser to drive. It's going to take a little bit more driver's skill to control the car, especially places like Daytona, Talladega, where aerodynamics is such a huge factor that goes into these races at places like that. You got the air bouncing off the sides of the car, off the front, and drafting playing such a huge role. So you have that. A lot of pit road changes. They're now going to video review, so the officials will no longer be on pit road, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. The less bodies out there, the better. I mean, those guys are traveling highway speed down pit road, and they take up a lot of room, and it's just a dangerous place to be. So taking those guys off pit road is a good change, I think. A lot of team changes going, just highlight a few in the Sprint Cup Series. Carl Edwards going over from Roush Fenway Racing to Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs Racing now having 4 drivers instead of 3. You see over at Richard Petty Motorsports, Sam Hornish Jr. is finally getting another shot at a full-time ride in the number 9 car, number 9 Ford. So I'm really, really interested to see that. I think the performance will be better with Sam behind the wheel there. I mean, he had a great run in the Nationwide Series last year with Joe Gibbs Racing in the 54. In the few starts that he made, he won a couple times. So that was good for him to get his confidence up. I think he'll excel there. He and Eric Almirola should bring the performance of that team up. And I'm thinking if he could pop off a win, I mean, that would get him in the chase. I think Eric Almirola, we saw him win at Daytona last year in the July race. I think they have an outside shot at making a chase, maybe getting a win or two. We'll have to just see how it plays out there. But a lot of questions up in the air. Talking about Kevin Harvick, he goes out and wins the championship last year in his first year over at Stewart-Haas Racing. So that first year to go out and do that is really impressive. So now what I'm looking forward to seeing is, can he keep that consistency with crew chief Rodney Childers? That team chemistry over there. I would like to see just an improvement organization wide at Stewart-Haas Racing. We saw Kevin Harvick far and away the best car over there last year. Obviously, Stewart had his issues, so he was had a lot of distractions going on there. I think he'll be back in classic Tony Stewart form this year. Kurt Busch won a race at Martinsville. I think he'll be good enough for a win or two, possibly more. And then the big question surrounding Danica Patrick. I'm a believer in that she can win a race. I believe that. I believe she can win at places like Daytona, places like Talladega. She ran really well at Charlotte, surprisingly, last year. Atlanta, she's generally pretty good at. She just needs to find that consistency. And I think the way the schedule starts out this year, will help her kind of transition to that, hopefully find some of that consistency. She has a new crew chief, Daniel Knost, who came over in the last 3 races last year. So just to keep building that rapport with him will be interesting. And, I'm looking forward to seeing her progress. I want to see her do well. If guys like Tony Stewart put her in their race car, have enough faith to have her on their team, I really want to see her succeed. I think that would be a cool thing. I think it'd be great for the sport. I think it'd be just a cool story in general. I think it'd be good for her career. So many different fans. She's brought a whole different demographic to the sport, and whether you cheer for her or whether you dislike her, whatever, she's very polarizing. I get that, but I think she is good for the sport in the end, and I want to see her succeed. So with that, I think it's a big year for Danica, though. It's a contract year. So she's going to have to step it up. She's got to reduce the DNFs, in my opinion. That's the goal of any drivers. You don't want any DNFs, but just to reduce that, to turn those top 15s into top 10s, and those top 10s into top 5s, top 7 runs. Am I going to predict her to win a race this year? I don't know. I think she's a dark horse to win a few races, though. I'm not gonna say that she won't win. I definitely think she has the potential to go out there and get it done. So, actually, I'm getting a little long here, so I apologize about that. I'll try to make this next segment quick. So your top 10 starting positions in the Daytona 500 come Sunday. Starting first on the pole, Jeff Gordon in the 24. Second is Jimmie Johnson. Third, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Fourth, Kyle Busch. Fifth is Joey Logano. Sixth, Carl Edwards in the 19. That's a new team, as I mentioned earlier. Seventh, Tony Stewart will roll off. Eighth is Greg Biffle. Ninth is Clint Bowyer. And 10 is a dark horse pick for me to win. Martin Truex Jr. ran really well in Sprint Unlimited last week. So keep your eye on the 78 car. And my picks for this weekend at Daytona, starting out in the Camping World Truck Series Friday night, I'm going to go with the number 3 truck of Ty Dillon. The number 3 just has so much history with Daytona. Ty Dillon has been in that position a few times. I think he gets it done this weekend. He's won a few races down in Volusia, to my understanding, this week. So I think he continues the winning. On that side, in the Xfinity Series, I'm going to go with a new driver and a new team. Taking over the number 6 ride is Bubba Wallace Jr. over at Roush Fenway Racing, piloting a Ford this year. I think he gets it done in his first attempt over in Roush Fenway Racing. Young kid, really like him. He's got a bright future in the sport, and just says the right things. Is really competitive, and another great guy for the sport. Can grow it in so many different ways, and he's had success to this point already in the Truck Series and the Nationwide Series. So keep your eye on the number 6 Ford, Bubba Wallace Jr. And my Sprint Cup Series pick to win this weekend in Daytona, I'm going to go with Matt Kenseth in the 20 car. Been fast all week already, won the Sprint Unlimited. I know it's hard to do the double, win the Sprint Unlimited, and then go back and win the Daytona 500 the next week. But I like Matt Kenseth's chances. He was strong in the duel. Really fast car, just, he was able to put it wherever he wanted. So I'm going to go with, if you're in a fantasy league or whatever, pick Matt Kenseth, have him on your roster this weekend. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Check out my blog at fullthrottleweekly.net, and I just encourage everybody to go out and enjoy the races this weekend. This is my favorite time of the year, really, as a fan. Getting to see the guys back on the track out at Daytona. So really fun time. Go out and watch them if you can. And check out the blog at fullthrottleweekly.net. Thanks.